Waifu Warframe is real, and now it isn't just the proto-frames. Duet Night Abyss, released on the 28th of October, and for those that are in the know, it's known for two things. First is the fact that this game is affectionately known by some of us as Warframe with Waifus, and that's pretty accurate to say the least. And the second one is that this game removed the one thing that many games with similar styles are known for, character and weapon-based gachapon. I already had an interest in this game from when it was revealed back in 2023. Most of us that did see the trailer were avid Warframe players and fans, so seeing a very similar style of gameplay in the trailer had me invested for what the game would entail. I can safely say, the wait was worth it in my eyes. Duet Night Abyss feels like what would happen if you truly combined elements of a gacha game with visuals and the combat and loadout systems of Warframe. Safe to say, when I got my hands on this game, when it first released, I may or may not have gone a little bit overboard. Yeah, I'm hooked. And there's no denying it. Everyone can call the gacha game without any gacha or the anime waifu Warframe clone that they would call this game, but do I give a shit? No, I really don't. When I first played Duet Night Abyss, in one of the closed tests I was in, I had a feeling that I was in for a fairly decent experience. Modes were plentiful, modding was familiar, and the movesets for each weapon, character, and combination of the two made for an experience that allowed me to jump right into the deep end head first due to my prior experiences with other games of its caliber. Unfortunately, the closed tests had an account stamina/energy system tied to it, so doing commissions in the game was limited, and as such, made things rather unintuitive at times. In the live release, however, gone completely, removed from the game, and in my own honest opinion, for the better. Games that run off this style of gameplay both combat-wise and speed-wise, it makes it feel like you can get a good session in while doing your dailies. So let's start off with the combat. You have your usual WASD to move, control to slide, crouch, space to jump, etc. The reason this game was compared to Warframe so much when it was revealed was due to a couple of things. First off, we have a thing known as the helix jump. For us Warframe players, we know it as bullet jumping. Helix jumping is one of the core fundamental ways of getting around in this game, especially when you pair it with your combat options that allow for extensions in the movement. Shift is your dodge button. You can't just spam the shift button and expect to be invulnerable for the rest of the time. Dodging has a cooldown, so don't get comfortable with spamming it, otherwise you'll be put in the dirt pretty quickly. Being a Warframe vet, that was a little weird to get used to. That, and there's barely any momentum carry from any of these movements, so it's going to feel a little jarring for those that are used to Warframe's movement gameplay. Left click is surprisingly your melee button, and your right click is your shoot button. Left clicking while midair will initiate a ground slam that will knock up enemies caught in the radius, and shooting while in the air is the aim glide function. Most of the core fundamental combat is based off of Warframe, and unapologetically so. I wouldn't say that is a problem, however, as Warframe has some of the best feeling combat in the gaming sphere, so I'll take more of what Warframe has with a different style. But what is a game without its characters? So let's start off with the big thing it has going for it, the protagonist character of DNA herself. Duet Night Abyss is a dual protagonist game with the characters aptly named Vita and Mors. Of course, like any good respecting game, you can rename them if you really like it, so you could self-insert yourself or just come up with a really funny name that's within terms of service. Getting sidetracked here, so I'll get back to the reason I'm bringing this up. Vita is a Lumino utility support that provides a very good range of buffs for both herself and her squad. Her first ability, Dawn Beyond Night, is a simple two-wave slash attack that, when connected, guarantees a Lumino proc effect. Lumino as a status actually refreshes the active time of all other elemental effects, and applies a dot to the target. Every element in this game applies a dot to the target, but Lumino and Umbro are the only two elemental effects with bonuses on top of them. Vita's ultimate is simply known as Flare, dealing AoE damage while granting her allies Ultra Shields, which are shields you can gain on top of shields that you already have. Think of the Overshield system for us Warframe players up there. And Incandescence, which is a weapon damage buff that scales with both ability level and character's levels, and that's about going into the Intron system itself. The Intron system is the constellation system for those familiar with Genshin, or the Mindscape system for my fellow Zenless Zone players out there, because let's be honest, that's the only gacha game I really care about anymore. The game's main story currently allows for Vita to go up to Intron 3, or I'll simply call it I3. Due to how the characters in this game are acquired, you really shouldn't have too much of a problem with farming multiple Introns on various different characters when you do get the commission system required to get them unlocked. This is also known as covert commissions. Vita's effects from her I1 and I2 are actually incredibly nice. Her I1 allows her basic skill to do 70% more damage while under the effects of her ultimate, and her I2 allows for the generation of a slowing field, so even just being the main character, Vita provides some very good utility for her team. Alongside her extra skill effects, you can get some tertiary things such as extra range, extra duration, protection, extra damage, also while being paired with certain weapons if you really feel like it. But when it comes to the passives, Vita's first passive is the fact that she does AoE damage. She does AoE damage every time she gets a Lumino proc. Pair that with the second passive she has when you unlock it, allowing for Flare to actually give not only crit chance, but that's her I6 by the way, her I6 will give her allies crit chance, but it will also give them status chance. So Vita at I6 is going to be a menace for very good team buffing. Another thing of note would be the weapon proficiency system. While you can freely mix and match weapons to your heart's content, using a weapon that corresponds to a certain character's proficiency will buff the raw damage of the weapon. It's just something to keep an eye on for when you do actually want to min-max your damage. But that doesn't mean that it's the end of the world for not wanting to match proficiencies. You don't get a negative damage penalty, you just simply get the actual stats that the weapon has. You gain the bonus stats if you pair it with someone who is proficient in that weapon style. As for what various weapon choices you have, well, let's just start from the top. You have your assault rifles, shotguns, grenade launchers, a minigun which technically counts as a grenade launcher because they need to classify it somewhere, bows, pistols, dual pistols because those are two separate things, katanas, swords, polearms, great swords, and whip swords, all with various status effects and different passives that allow for different playstyle combinations, and really it's just a massive emphasis on experimentation to find out what you really like. Me personally, I recently picked up the Remnant Reminiscence, also known as Vita's weapon, which grants on crit free sanity generation, and sanity for the Warframe players out there is your energy that allows you to use your skills and or ultimate. So having a weapon that gives you free resource generation is incredibly useful, especially considering the fact that it also has fairly decent crit stats, so I ain't complaining. One thing I will note with Duet is that it has amazing character designs. One of my personal favorites would be Fantasio. Haven't been able to grind the boss that drops his secret letters yet, but I will simply say this. The guy showed up out of nowhere, introduced some of the best combat in this game because his kit is incredibly fun, and stole the show beside it. 10 out of 10 character. Straight up, 10 out of 10 character. Fucking love Fantasio, and when I get the time, I am going to farm the hell out of him. Alongside other characters like Fantasio, you have Hellfire, who is... yeah, she's hot. Quite literally. Outsider, who... honestly, he's goofy. We love Outsider for a reason. Daphne, according to some people, the best support in the game. Rhythm, I like Rhythm. And Lynn. They're just really cool looking characters to boot. And you can put cat ears on everyone. Now, I'm not saying this due to bias, but immediately turning this game into something that I like to dub as absolute cinema. You can put cat ears on freaking everybody. 10 out of 10. One of the really cool things about this game is you can add a few extra things on top of characters like glasses, bandage eye coverings if you want to have more of a 2B-esque vibe, a monocle, and if you feel like it, having a small pet dragon on top of your head. Getting the actual full body skins, however, is a different story, and that's where it ties into the monetization of this game. So the way this game is going to make money is pretty simple. Cosmetics. Since the game pivoted away from the character and weapon-based gacha, they had to make money somehow. While the title of the game that took out its gacha is technically true, there is still gacha elements in terms of acquiring the rarer skins, and if you felt like skipping a grind on the character you can just buy outright, I wouldn't recommend it personally. I wouldn't recommend buying any character you can easily farm via the use of secret letters and covert commissions. But the developers have already thought of this. How would they and the publishers make money when it comes to the game? Well, that's pretty simple. The old Myriad system, which was used for the character and weapon gacha, was repurposed into a skin gacha system. Farming for pulls from my experience is practically non-existent, so don't even bother asking about how you get pulls, because I don't think that system has been implemented. If they ever do implement a pull farming aspect of the game, they'll probably tie it to the weeklies or something, but I think they're just testing the waters right now. Within the Myriad system, you have the usual banner system. You know, like every standard gacha game ever. Standard banners and event banners. Both have their own soft and hard pity caps, allowing people to still get some cool stuff such as accessories for your characters, and who knows, you might get lucky and pull the event skins. The event banners also give 5 free pulls for every 20 pulls you do on the banner. So the game's actually kind of generous in that sense, if you are wanting to consider that to be generous when you pair it up with its statistics. I mean, hey, the average drop being 1.42% with a guarantee, it's pretty bog standard, but rolling 1% is not as bad as rolling 0.067. EA. Alongside the gacha system for the skins, we also have the Battle Pass system, also known as the Bard's Tome, split into 3 tiers, being the Free Pass, the Hardcover Edition, and the Collector's Edition tomes. It's bog standard, and the gacha Battle Pass system offers a pretty decent variance of rewards, because I'm 90% sure you also will get a skin if you buy a Hardcover Edition. No, collector's edition. Collector's edition. I'm forgetting. But it also depends on how much money you fork out. In general, what it feels like is the game offers more of a pay-to-progress system in a way that doesn't really feel all that intrusive. While yes, it is advertised, it's advertised incredibly weakly, never trying to vie for your complete attention to pay out money. They would prefer to have you just play the game, enjoy the story, and experience all the characters and kits that the game has to offer. It feels nice not to have to worry about a game that constantly tries and goes for your pockets like a little loot gremlin. Aside from that, if you do feel like buying stuff, I'd say it's standard pricing. So it's nothing really much to write home about, but like everything, if you really wanted to, you buy the first thing, and you get a double up on the payment. It's pretty nice. So, aside from all that, what is the grind actually like? The grind is something I'd like to have of note. It's actually pretty respectful for your time. You can blitz through and hit the end game if you really wanted to, or you can take more of a leisurely time and enjoy the world and what it has to offer. The commission system helps divide the grind into key sections, so if you really wanted to spend one session doing nothing to gain a single abundance of resources, you can actually do that. It's really nice. Secret letters, and by further extension the covert commissions where you are meant to farm for new characters and weapons most of the time, are on a completely separate tab, and they do cycle every hour, so mission types do vary. Be warned, however, if you aren't careful, you'll find yourself back into excavation and defense trying to farm resources for crafting, because I have found myself doing that quite a bit. Maybe I should spend a couple of days doing defense and excavations now, shouldn't I? Character farming can also be a pain in the arse if you don't get lucky with RNG, same with weapons as well, but they recently changed secret letters to actually be a drop available in every single mission type, so you never find yourself running short. Maybe you have to grind, but you'll never find yourself running short. The mods have their own dedicated farming mission, so you don't have to worry about being in the middle of a random mission, praying that you get a good roll, and get the mod that you need for a build that you want to have. That, and the game offers a pretty good tutorial and new player experience. You aren't thrown directly into the deep end expected to swim immediately. You don't get lost easily, and you have a pretty concise and clear path forward if you choose to do so. And with its tutorial system only being a few clicks away and always visible to the players via the pause menu, you can always refresh yourself on knowledge that you might forget about. Now, all of this is pretty good. I also know that there's also been a plenty abundance of bugs, and that's my only problem with Duet, is the bugs. The game has optimization issues, that's for sure, and sometimes having to reload the game mid-multiplayer has been a cause for concern. Textures pop in and out sometimes, and witnessing this happen can be rather jarring for those that simply want to be completely immersed in the experience of Duet Night Abyss. Alongside heavy desync sometimes of multiplayer, and even catching animations break due to said desync. Example being Lin A posing when popping her ultimate skill, and sometimes having the ultimate not even go through. It's not enough to deter me from playing the game, it's just little things like that, and the lack of polish in other areas could use a bit of work from time to time. The verdict overall is that Duet Night Abyss is a pretty solid 1.0 release. Good gameplay, music, characters, and atmosphere has made this game hit the ground running. And with the developers always being eager to listen to the community and actually provide open channels of communication to the players themselves, I have a feeling Duet Night Abyss will find itself having a community in no time, one that will be willing to stick around. Especially with some of us being Warframe veterans that were chomping at the bit to play this game, me definitely being one of them. The game can use some TLC in some areas, but overall it's a very, very good first impression. DNA, I shall watch your journey with vexed interest, as I'll probably find myself making a lot more stuff for this game, and even streaming it a bunch. It reminds me of older Warframe in that sense. All in all, I'd give Duet Night Abyss a solid 7 out of 10, but the story alone could bump it up to an 8 out of 10 for me. Duet Night Abyss shows incredible promise, and for someone like me who completely burned out of a game like Warframe to the point of probably quitting for good, no, I probably won't be going back to that game, unfortunately. This game scratches that itch of just jumping around and murdering people with insane amounts of power. It's a very good horde shooter. So, that will be it from me. Thank you all so much for watching this review/overview of mine. For the lovely game known as Duet Night Abyss, I'll be going back to hardcore grinding this game because I have found myself completely ensnared by it. Links will be in the description for those that are interested, my card for everything, my Discord server for those that want to hang out, my Twitter for those that like someone posting random shit every once in a while, my TikTok for memes and funny highlights, and if you wanted to, you can always catch me over live on Twitch whenever I find myself streaming. It's been Azura, and I will leave you all with this. Ponder the orb. Toodles!